Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk podcast. This is Dan DeWitt, your host, as always. And a little break there last week. I was going to try to get the podcast in before we went to Disney. Stuff got too crazy. If you've ever been there with kids or even have kids, you probably know what that's like. So sorry about that. We were up and going this week, though. We're going to wrap up the season as far as college basketball goes, as far as Tar Heels goes. We're going to look at the high school all-star games and how the UNC commits did there. Look into the off season. Talk a little bit about who stars will be, and excuse me, most of the podcast will be going through the predictions that I gave preseason and what you guys sent in preseason. So let's jump in. First, we'll start with ending the college basketball season. The bracket challenge for the UNC Hoops Talk podcast. The winner, his name on ESPN contest or whatever, was While You're Here. While You're Here at C_Moore97. That's his Twitter as well. It's Corey Moore. So shout out to Corey. You won the bracket challenge. Unfortunately, no prizes yet. Just prize and bragging rights. So congratulations, Corey, winning the bracket challenge. Of course, you guys know what happened. Pretty uneventful kind of Final Four. Maybe that's my bias. And as a Tar Heel fan, we've been there the last 2 years, and now we're not. But just was not exciting games. It didn't seem like. Of course, the Kansas-Villanova game was just a blowout. Michigan is kind of uneventful win over Loyola. And then, Villanova, props to them. It's probably what a lot of people look at our 2009 championship as, just kind of dominant and uneventful, not good games or whatever. Of course, it's fun as a fan to watch those, but as an outside fan of neither team, not as fun to watch. Villanova just went to work, did what they did. DiVincenzo goes off for 31 points, and they get another championship, their second and third year, which kind of stinks because there's already people doing all this talk about Villanova being the best program in the last 4 or 5 years, and I think we have something to say about that, but this obviously hurts. Of course, there's other people saying Villanova won in 16, we won in 17, they won in 18. Now it's our turn again in 19. So we keep that trend going. That would be awesome. But yeah, that kind of wraps up college basketball season. We'll look a little bit deeper into the North Carolina season, going into the predictions and how we actually did. First, I do want to say, the podcast, now that we're going into the off season, will be once a month podcast. So this is the April podcast. Will not be another one until sometime in what comes after April? May. One in May. And so it's even more important that wherever you listen or get the podcast, that you subscribe so that you don't miss it. I don't do a regular. I don't necessarily announce when it's going to happen. So it'll kind of pop up in your feed if you're subscribed, but otherwise you may miss it. So if you are enjoying it, at least, I would encourage you to subscribe. And if there are topics or questions or anything like that you'd like discussed on the podcast, I'd greatly appreciate those. You can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram at alltarheeldan. You can send me an email, unchoopstalk@gmail.com. But all those links and more links will be in the description below the video or the podcast, wherever you're taking it in. So there's that. Jumping into kind of a little bit of off-season stuff, but the high school All-American games, we've had the McDonald's All-American game and just had the Jordan Brand Classic All-American game yesterday, as I'm podcasting this on Monday. And Nasir Little kind of went off in both of them. He had 28 points in the McDonald's All-American game. Really showed out in how hard he was playing, especially compared to the other guys. They just didn't look like they were trying that hard, and he was going to work. He was doing it. Brought it to Zion a couple of times defensively, a couple of nice dunks. He knocked down a three. But yeah, 28 points, got the MVP. And then he was also co-MVP yesterday, had 24 points amongst other stats in the Jordan Brand Classic, and also brought it to, I think it was Reddish, the other Duke commit. And then also Kobe White had 21 points. I don't remember what his stats were for the McDonald's All-American game, but he had 21 points yesterday. Looked like we're getting a couple of good guys, a couple of hard workers nice shooters, and just competitors, which we know that's what Roy wants and recruits to as well. So looking good there. It does bring up kind of my question of the month. I would love to get your feedback in. Again, Twitter, Instagram, email, whatever is easiest, comments on the video. But who will be the starters next year? I think it's, especially at this point, really hard to judge that or predict that. Of course, we have Seventh Woods at point guard. We have Kobe White coming in at point guard. Leaky Black can play a little bit of point guard. We have KJ Smith on the roster already that can play some backup point guard. I'm guessing it's either Kobe or Seventh. It's just whether Roy goes with experience or the talent with Kobe coming in. But of course, we know how freshman point guards go. And I foresee him going with Seventh, at least early in the season. Obviously, that could change. And then I'm guessing Kenny starts, Kenny Williams. You have to think Cam Johnson. It sounds like he's coming back from his quote that he'd be coming back. You'd think he would start. Luke, of course, will start. But I also think Roy will go to a traditional two big lineup, which means Brooks or Manley, whoever produces the most or advances the most over this offseason, would start. But then you look at what Nasir Little's done and the athleticism he has, the talent he has, is like, how do you sit him? So who does he start over? Does he start over Kenny or Cam? Does he start over Luke? Does he start, go to a small lineup and move Luke back to the center? So it's really hard to predict now, but I would love your input. Of course, we got more guys. I mentioned Manley and Brooks. We also got Huffman as a big guy. We got B-Rob with experience now. Andrew Playtech coming back. He was playing some decent minutes here in spot minutes, but he was Roy was trusting him with those minutes. He was getting those. Like I said, we have Leaky Black also coming in as a freshman. So again, I just love your feedback. Who do you think at this point in the heading into the off season? We'll revisit this obviously in the fall, in the early preseason of the season. But who do you think is going to be the starters next year? And then that also does bring up recruiting-wise. E.J. Montgomery just committed to Kentucky, so we lost out on him. It was looking like we had a decent chance. We do still have a scholarship out to, forget his first name, Jason or John Brown, another power forward. And I feel like there was another guy out of California that Roy had kind of thrown some feelers out there, but still really early in that process. For us anyway, so probably not a decent chance for us to get him, but it's out there. We do still have one scholarship to kind of fill if we can get somebody to come. I guess if we're not really in a position that we need somebody, just a local kid that's not going to ever play and give him a scholarship or anything like that. But we'll see what Roy does. We'll see what happens. See how our recruiting goes here. Obviously, we're starting in on recruiting for the next couple of years as well, and we'll do the annual recruiting podcast as we get into July, August area. But that's kind of where we stand there. I think about all we got left here is to go through the predictions. So first, I'll go through my predictions and I'll put them up against what the Tar Heels actually did this year, and then we'll run through what you guys sent in and kind of pick out who was right, and maybe if people are way off, we'll point that out. But we'll get into that. So my predictions was, as I went through it, I didn't go through game to game, but I did give a little more specific than most people because obviously I'm talking and have longer to do that than you guys just typing it in on Twitter or wherever you sent it in. But I said we would lose 2 non-conference games, which we did. Unfortunately, one of those was Wofford, not what I would have predicted, but we lost to Michigan State and Wofford in the non-conference. Only 2 non-conference games we lost. So I was right there. I said we would lose 5 conference games. We ended up losing 7. Of course, we started off 5 for 5 in the ACC, or 5 and 5 in the ACC. And so at that point, I kind of figured, my prediction is not coming. But I only did miss it by 2 games. We were 11-7 in the ACC. I said we would tie for the regular season. Obviously, I didn't see Virginia having the season they did in the regular season or in the conference season or regular season, even really for that matter. But we tied for 3rd, so there's only a couple off there. Not like we would have won it if I was right and we only lost 5 conference games. Again, the way Virginia was playing or did play this season, we weren't going to win the conference with 5 losses, 7 losses, whatever it is. So, with 11-7, I predicted we'd be 24-7 at that point. We were 22-5. Or sorry, I predicted we were 24-7. We had 2 more losses than that. We were 22-9. That makes more sense. And we were tied for the 3rd regular season as opposed to the championship, like I said we would. I did say we would go to the championship game and lose again, which we did. Obviously, if we were tied for the regular season title, we would have had the bye and only played 3 games there. We ended up playing 4 games there, but I was right there. So I guess I'm 2-2 here as far as my predictions go. Then I said we were going to go to the Elite 8. Obviously, we know that didn't happen. We were lost in the round of 32. We went 1-1 in the NCAA tournament. So that was a bummer, of course. But that put us at 26-11, and I had predicted us at 29-9. So only 2 losses off, a couple of few victories off, I guess. So one of those seasons last year, I said the Elite 8 as well. It's I guess it's kind of middle ground. Maybe I'm copping out by saying the Elite 8 every year. But last year I was too pessimistic, I guess. We went to the championship and won it. And this year I was a couple of rounds off the other way. We lost too early. So it is what it is, I guess, and all that. We'll do it again next year, and hopefully I'll be. I don't necessarily care if I'm right. I should say, I guess I would rather us. It's hard to predict a championship unless you just have, like in 2009. I was like, we're going to win it all. Other years you say it, yeah, we can, or we're gonna whatever. But I don't know. I like to be more. I guess I like to be more on the pessimistic side, and try not to be too homerish or too biased, or maybe it's a jinx. I don't know. I don't jinx the guys by predicting that victory, but. It is what it is. As far as what you guys sent in, there's a lot here, so I'm going to try to pick out people that were right here. First guy at HL_squared 30-10, Elite 8 or Final 4. Obviously, that didn't happen. Megan Arrington has been on the podcast before. At M Arrington on Twitter said we would be 25-6 in the regular season. It's pretty close. We were 24-7. Said that we'd lose in the championship game. We did that. Said we'd lose in the Elite 8, like I did. But we know what happened there. Alex Thompson on Twitter said we'd be 23-6. I was pretty close. Let's see here. A lot of guys saying Final Fours. Here's one. K Rings _23. Mark Krings said we would lose in the finals of the ACC tournament. And then make it to the Elite 8, but not the Final 4. They were right about the ACC tournament. Let's see, at DTGOULET, at DT Goulet, maybe. 5 losses. We had 7. That was pretty close. Let's see here. At James_Torbic said 6 losses during the regular season. We had 7, so he was close there. Let's see here. Trying to pick out people that were right. I know this is such exciting podcasting here, live podcasting, but here at _Keeter, KEATOR on Twitter said we'd be a 3 seed. So I believe we were 3 seed, right? I feel like remembering that right. Let's see here. Elite 8, ACC tournament, win 27 games. Brad Keitzer on Twitter said we'd win 27 games. We ended up winning 29, so that was pretty close. A couple of championship predictions. At Sports Guy Show said 22-8. We were 24-7. That's close. Said Sweet 16, so I guess he was closer than a lot of people. 4th in the ACC. We were 3rd. Said we would be behind Duke State and Louisville. We were behind Duke. Well, tied with State, I guess. Let's see. A 2 seed, 2nd in the ACC. That was close for Shane Franklin. That's at JMCMF Shane on Twitter. 25-30 wins for Matthew Lemons. Lemons Drop on Twitter. Was it in that? Well, I guess we had 24 in the regular season, but overall we were between 25 and 30 wins. 8 to 10 losses, he said. We were right in the middle of that. Final Four, Elite Eight. Here we go, 25 and 6 in the regular season. At Eric King _11 on Twitter. Said we'd be 25 and 6 in the regular season. I was close. 23 and 7 at worst was at Devon _Stone 8. 23 and 7 at worst. We were 24 and 7. That's pretty close. 28 and 10, 32 and 8. At Marshmallow 45, Brandon Marsh said we'd be 22 and 7 in the regular season. Again, very close, 24 and 7. Said we'd be a runner-up. We're third, Sweet 16, so not too bad there. At UNC Humor said we would be second in the ACC, 13 and 5 record. In the ACC, we were, 11 and 7, so a couple of games off there. Said make it to the Elite Eight. He said Joel Berry, first team All-ACC, Cam Johnson, third team All-ACC. It was Luke that was first team. Well, were they both? Was Joel first team? Yeah, Joel was first team All-ACC, right? I feel like I'm remembering that right. At Heels, yes, says we'd be 25 and 6 in the regular season. 1 game off, so that's pretty good, 24 and 7. Let's see, 29 and 7. Maxine Burley, that's at TLC Burley on Twitter, said 29 and 7 overall, 29 and 9, so that was pretty close. 25 and 8 for Joey Freshwater on Twitter. 9 losses at Tar _heel _blue. It's Jason, 9 losses. Top 3 ACC finish, losing the ACC championship game. Did say we'd repeat, but everything else was spot on almost. Let's see. At They Call Me El Padilla Allen, 26 and 5 in the regular season. Very, very close. 24 and 7 we were. Let's see. Elite Eight. ACC tournament runner-up at Elaine Floyd. She was right there. ACC tournament runner-up at Sam Shovel 99. Sam Spade was right there. Said we'd beat Duke twice. We did do that. 2 out of 3. Let's see here. At Heel Athletics said we'd have 8 losses. We had 9, so that was close there. Future Tar Heel Anthony Pagnata has been on the podcast before, said 32 and 7. Not too far off, 3 games off. Let's see here. Final Four, Elite Eight. Okay, that's all the Twitter ones off of Instagram. At UNC Mixes said 24 and 7. We were 27 and 4. We were 24 and 7. Not bad there for, I guess. Grant Carey at GCC _19 on Instagram said 23 and 5 in the regular season. That was pretty close. Let's see. 2 to 3 seed. He was right there. Winning it all. Let's see. At UNC at UNC.highlights on Instagram, 22 and 9 in the regular season. A couple of games off there. At UNC Edits, 26 and 8 in the regular season. So that was pretty close. Couple of championships. At _Isaiah Lowe on Instagram said 25 and 6. 1 game off. That was pretty darn good. And I think that's it as far as close ones. So yeah, I'm actually pretty surprised. There were some people in there that were pretty close, probably closer than I was. So again, thank you guys for sending in your predictions. We'll of course do this again next season. I know this podcast wasn't excited. Last year, I feel like there was a lot more because a lot more people had picked championship, being close, or at least Final Four and stuff like that. A lot more people right on that sense. Of course, that's the way we want to be right as Tar Heel fans. But yeah, I thank you guys for sending that stuff in. We'll do it again next year. Like I said, podcast goes to once a month now, so I'll be back sometime in May. So make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. We'll talk more about what you guys sent in as far as who the starters are, who should be at this point, or who you think they will be, and get into any Tar Heel news that happens between now and next month. Of course, I think there's one more All-Star game that usually happens, the Hoop Summit. Obviously, recruiting news may happen, may change. So anything like that, we'll talk a little bit about draft stuff as our guys get into, Joel and Theo and stuff, where they could be predicted to be drafted or if they'll be drafted. I know I just saw a highlight or a headline. I haven't read anything about it, but Harrison Barnes was picked to be on the USA roster, national team. So any news like that, we'll make sure we hit on. This is your place for UNC news and UNC hoops talk. Again, I'm your host, Dan DeWitt. Before I do jump off, I did want to say there is one comment here from Grant Bowden on YouTube as I stream this live as I'm podcasting. Says, the more I watch and see her little play, the more I get excited about next year. If we can figure out the point guard position, we should be a tough out. And yeah, that's what we've been saying, is the point guard is where we need to be watching. And again, that's why we need to talk about who will our starters be. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys this month, I guess. Now I have to say, not this week. It's hard to do. It's hard to only podcast once a month, but I will look forward to talking to you guys again next week. And in between there, hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Instagram, email, wherever it is. Make sure you're connected, and let's talk college basketball. Let's talk Tar Heel basketball all year round. But thanks for joining, guys. I'm signing off. Until next time, go Heels.